Mm, manners, respect. No, 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 people. Manners, respect. No, no, no. How you guys doing, people? Hope everything is good with you, no? Hope today's society are treating you good, people. Yes, people. It's another cold night in Toronto. Why people, some of the things that I not understand. How can people who have so much energy and so much sense just use all them energy and sense to complain about something that they can't solve? Not no easy, Well, not everything is easy, but there's some easy stuff. Some stuff more easier than some stuff, right? So there's easy stuff, but the things that my people can, so the things that my people can't solve, Them used to solve it before. People used to be problem solvers. No, no, no issue no come up with people don't solve. Well, in a fluid community, anyways. It's funny, The biggest fight now is superficial fight. Let me say superficial fight. It's the fight them when them and fight it now solve no problem. It's the fight them and fight now solve no problem. I don't see it as solve no problem. Some of the stuff them when me look upon and see, again the people them have the power to change things. And they can, but them just don't. People just want to have more money than anything else. The more money, the better it is. That's what it comes down to. The more money people have, the better it is. And the more money, the happier them is. But I'm telling you, say them happy for a period of time and then all of that, the happiness there. Was it worth it? Some people think it was worth it. Some people think it's worth it to lose them life over the stupidest things. Meanwhile, people are fight to preserve life, fight to make life better, not just for them, but for other people too. And people out there try to stop people from enjoy them life for no reason. all of the headline and the same thing them what them are going with. That not change nothing. People them are used to fight for all of them things, eh? All of them people they pass off. Most of them people are nowadays. It's rare. Tell you how me I see things and I see how there's a big separation between the people them who want to change it and the people them who no want to keep it the same. Because I say some people them happy just the way it is, from both sides, from our side and their side. And when I say on their side, I mean the evil side. The evil people them on the evil side them want to keep it just the way it is. All the lies that was told, all the deceit, deception, denial, destruction, degradation, all kind of these. Them want it just the way it is. Some point for side want it just the way it is. Again, me say it to me, for me one separation is to want to say we can get along. We can't get along with anybody. Well, most of the time. We can't get along with ourselves some of the time. That's one of the biggest things. But me tell you, say if there's separation, we would have all of the problems we think we can deal with. That's one thing we would have to do, we would have to face ourselves. We would really have to face ourselves. Or to talk to each other. Because again, we are the only one in each other's face. So separation of force we in a situation that we don't do right now is accepting certain things and working on the betterment like we used to do before. Because we say we have our own school, we have our own this, we have our own that, we have our own community. And for a community always vibrant. So when them talk about separation and them some people is gonna miss us because of our food and miss us because we're cool and stuff like that. Trust me, there's way more to us than that. But people tell us that we don't pay attention to nothing. We're the people who don't pay attention to nothing. See them I read a paper say some scientists find some of the oldest tree somewhere about. And I understand how just scientists can discover anything or everything. If I know scientists not discover it, I'm gonna ask myself, so Christopher Columbus and I want scientists? Because they coming like say only scientists discover everything. If I know scientists discover it, it never archaeologists and all of them people there. So one to the people who hide them stuff here. Somebody must hide them stuff here for them people are fine. Plant them stuff there for them people are fine. How come they not give no credit to them people? Just the people, scientists. What? Why so emphasize scientists? Who are scientists? What make them so special? As soon as them born out of them mother, them are scientists, and they know exactly what to do. Oh, we're gonna be discovering this for the rest of our life. So scientists work. And I know people. Just understand, say, most of the credit to the people them where them fi give credit to them. Just now give credit to nobody. Then just I say, this is it. We do this, we do that. And they see a mentality. Past, present, future people. That's one thing that think about. So imagine there's no discovery until scientists discover it. And scientists always are discovered for it. People, they say them want the separation, the segregation thing, and a ball like say it just a go on or it never happened before. And tell you say from a little bit me know about sundown town. And when or you get the feelings that you're not wanted certain things. Because when people are project certain feelings towards you, you know when the feeling of love is, not just the action, but when you're in love with somebody and radiate the energy you wanna have. And when you're upset with somebody and you put out that negative energy there. And a person come in at the house and then no say they want to say, what's wrong? And you're nothing. That even confirm it even more. Sometimes I can't lie good enough. I'm a terrible liar. I'm telling you, say, I know we fit tell lie people, we fit tell the truth because there's enough lie teller out there already. And distort history and create all kind of mayhem, all kind of confusion. Therefore, history is not a nice. It's our story is nice, but some of our history is not. Because when I look upon it as far as before, like in BC, when it was constant war against kings and castles and them stuff there. I mean, I really see us a go out and just a mass conquering. Yeah. I mean, I see we are go out and do mass conquering. So always some other race of the mass conquering somehow, for some reason. uh, so today, people, again, me tell you, say the stories them come to me because just because where the people them are talk about the separation and how many people know certain things are going throughout history. So it's like me going on modern, like it was part one of sundown town was just how you say, the introduction of what some people experience and what happened to some of the sundown town them. And the sundown town them, me tell you say it's not like everybody in the town, but you see the majority of the evil people them. The one and two people them were not uphold with it or agree with it, but me say them still living at the town. When they talk about how them have one and two black people living, me not understand how you other as an African person, right? Know the type of people them are living at the town and you still want working at the town, still want you still want interact with them people. That may say no, if if you don't feel certain way about certain like why would you want to hang out with people think and feel a certain way? So even if you work in a them town there, if me no saw that the type of town, me wouldn't want to work in a them type of town there. It's not the money not gonna be good enough because most of the time when you're working at them town, you're at the whimsical of these people. Them can just scrape you up, them can lie upon you, them can do all of them things that without like no the police them not gonna stop it anyways. The police them are part of it people. I'm tell you some more, I'm gonna do a live and I'm gonna show you like or with money or as them we're not perfect, you know. Remember that we're not perfect people. So if them people get extra money if you do evil, I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna do evil. But the very fact of them people that say certain things, meanwhile these places exist today, past, present, in the future too. Because I don't like say when them flood out them people I decide say, you know what, we are gonna stop the evil. Some of the town them try to make a difference. But I'm telling you, say the people them were with enough hate to burn out the good out of the town them not gonna stand for nothing change. Them not gonna not change. What me say, some people will never change because it's what their belief is what their belief is. And it's unfortunate say we don't agree with it. We not live them ways there. And it's always us. We not live them ways there. And a few of them we don't have them ideology there. But most of them evil people. Most of them evil people they believe in that. And that's one of the thing where Marcus Garvey said. And Marcus Garvey said, or Haile Selassie I said, and then Bob Marley sing it. The until a person's skin don't characterize them deed. Right? That means you can't judge me by my skin until that philosophy change. Given the opportunity, given the opportunity, because I'm gonna do one on the DEI thing where them explain what it mean. Some diversity it's related to. Like they must have some rules where them say them have to have a certain amount of black people. But I think say them have a rules where say them can't have too much black people. I think there's an unwritten rule. But again, them have the choice to do what they want, right? But I think there's an unwritten rule where say no company is supposed to hire more than if the quota is 5 across the board, it's 5. Me just feel so there's an unwritten rule like that. Not a proof, but me have the feelings. And sometimes I say the feeling is the feeling. All right, people. So this is from Mr. Storybox, right? And I tell you, say all of them things that the feed them just start come up once me start delete a couple channels and click on to a couple more informative stuff. I'm tell you, say it's educational, people. It's educational. It's for us to be aware. So this is the sundown town of America. And some of the things them ways in the comment section, you know, people. Got my try showing, you know. It said, be safe, my black brothers. Never hesitate, get home. Never hesitate, get home by any means necessary. 100. So I'm gonna say, anybody, any other race, after say them things here. It's a modern time, you know, people. But just be knowing that you're hunted. There's places in this world where you're hunted. You're the prey all the time. Isn't that crazy? That is absolutely crazy, people. But this is part two. Well, this is my part two, the sundown town of America. All right. As we proceed, people.
There have been numerous cases of
Oops.
Men being lured out to small remote towns across America, with many of these victims ending up deceased or are simply never seen again. But despite the harrowing evidence that continues to stack up each year, the idea of sundown towns in modern day America has become somewhat of a myth, with many people believing these towns to be nothing more than a dark period of our history. However, if you just spend a few minutes in the comments section of my videos, you will quickly begin to see that many people of color would beg to differ, as stories of sundown towns are not only real, but continue to unfold to this day. Now, if you are familiar with my channel, then you will likely be aware of my running series where I take a deeper look into these cases in an attempt to try and spread awareness. But during my research, a concerning pattern has started to emerge, which seems to link all of these cases together. And therefore, I can't help but feel that the subject of sundown towns deserves its own video. So rather than focusing on just one case, please brace yourself as I attempt to delve into the murky waters of this incredibly controversial topic, starting with the suspicious disappearance of Devontae Morgan.
Yes. Okay, people. So pretty much it's am I sure you say all of these things happen on a regular basis, people. Right? But the thing about it is nothing is done about it. Nothing is done about it, and that's what I try to show you, see. We don't have nobody fighting for us. Right? We don't have like a secret FBI agent for our black BPI, Black People Investigative Network. Yeah, yeah. That's what it would be called. So them are the FBI would have the black people. The Black People Investigative Network. And this would be an organization that this is what we do. All of the crimes, all of them things that there will be a network that study, right? Bring evidence, proof of all of these things that's happening in a fluid, well, not in a fluid culture, but in a the society. I'm just an of our society this year. We're just part of it, but an of our society. As we proceed, people.
Suspicious disappearance of Devontae Morgan. On Wednesday, the 5th of May in 2020, a 28-year-old man named Devontae Morgan had traveled up to the small town of Mount Shasta for a family birthday party. But after getting into a heated argument with his girlfriend that morning, Devontae would storm out of the motel, never to be seen or heard from again. He was reported missing 2 days later after he failed to return home, but police noticed a distinct lack of emotion in his girlfriend's voice, and they were left alarmed after finding out that Devontae's phone was broken, and therefore there was no way of tracking his whereabouts. However, after almost a week of investigating, the police were finally able to uncover some surveillance footage of Devontae from the day he disappeared, which showed him walking into a gas station alone. But despite conducting numerous searches of the area and knocking on every single door, no further leads would be uncovered, eventually leading the case to turn cold. And given the lack of witnesses, Devontae's family began to feel like something wasn't right with this town. According to them, locals would be seen tearing down the missing person posters and showed no interest in helping the family find their loved one. So at the time, it seemed like there was nowhere else to turn. However, around 2 months after his disappearance, a witness would finally come forward after bumping into Devontae's brother Anthony, who would reveal that he had seen the missing young man climbing into a white truck, and rumors began to spread that he had been taken to the Shasta River to be disposed of. But despite these bold claims, the local police were unable to find any evidence to back them up. So once again, the case would turn cold, with Devontae unfortunately remaining a missing person to this day. However, as disturbing as this story may seem, this is certainly not the first time a man has been lured out by a woman to a small town shortly before disappearing, as demonstrated by this next case. On Thursday, the 28th of December, a 28-year-old rapper from Oregon named Ticarius Ray was last seen driving his pickup truck through the town of Roseburg when he would mysteriously disappear. 2 days later, his white Dodge Durango was found abandoned on the side of a highway just outside of town and was swiftly towed away by the police.
Okay, and again, people, this is a rapper. Me no know all as a rapper, and you have all of them social media something like I. But I'm telling you, anytime there's something that happen, people, mom is the word, you know. That me I gonna tell you now about a next case. Mom is the word, people. Nobody no know nothing, nobody no see nothing. As we proceed, but me just say, as a rapper, you're supposed to be, you know, more aware as we proceed.
And was swiftly towed away by the police. However, after inspecting the vehicle, a cell phone was then discovered on the passenger seat that belonged to Ticarius. So unfortunately, they were unable to get in touch with the young man and instead held on to the evidence. A week then went by with Ticarius still failing to inquire about his truck. But given his troubled history with the law, it was initially assumed by the police that he was purposely choosing not to get in touch. However, in an instant, everything would change when the Roseburg Police Department received a call from his family, claiming that they hadn't heard from or seen the 28-year-old in 10 days, and they were rightfully concerned for his safety. So, given these details, an official missing person report was then filed, and his image was plastered across the news and social media in the hopes that somebody would recognize his face. But unfortunately, after 8 months of searching, it would seem that Ticarius Ray is still nowhere to be found, with the most popular theory stating that he was lured out to Roseburg by his girlfriend, who had nefarious intentions. But unfortunately, this pattern of young black men being lured out to small towns just a few days before they go missing is something which has repeated itself multiple times across the Northwest.
You see, people, even with the two youth them were there. The two youth them were there were gone missing, and the two twins. Right? As we proceed, people.
Unlike with these first two cases, it's not always a woman who does the luring. On Monday, the 7th of August, earlier this year, a 33-year-old musician from California named Corey Danieli would suddenly disappear after getting into a fight with one of his friends before supposedly storming off into the night, never to be seen again. To this day, his whereabouts are still unknown, but the Fresno Police Department, along with Corey's family, strongly believe that the missing man is likely deceased due to the suspicious circumstances that surround his case. And with key suspects like Zach Stiles, who was the last person to see Corey alive after inviting him out to the small town of Kerman, and has since mysteriously relocated to Hawaii, it's no surprise that they have come to this conclusion. However, despite the rising stack of evidence that seems to point in the direction of murder, after almost 1 year of investigation, the police are still yet to reveal what really happened to Corey Danieli that night, which has understandably left the public questioning whether there could be some kind of cover-up going on, which unfortunately seems to be a recurring theme across these cases, as with many small towns, you will usually find that they also possess a very small police department, meaning resources are almost always stretched, so with little evidence to go off, it's no surprise that many of these cases go unsolved. However, in some circumstances, there can be an abundance of suspicious evidence to go off, but somehow the police still fail to find a conclusion. And
Hello. Yeah. turns the more time the cases either them go unsolved or the evidence then get. So people, that's what I'm saying. If we have an organization that was out there for us, not NAACP, but like an organization will have the money and the power. But not little few people. Absolutely nothing. As we proceed.
In some cases, even refuse to admit the involvement of foul play.
We've got some big news to share.
Yeah, people. Because the police, them say the two youth them box up each other. Right? Until them they arrested one person for sharing the picture of them. People, past, present, as we proceed.
Even refuse to admit the involvement of foul play. On the 9th of July in 2013, a 24-year-old model named Ryan Singleton was driving his car through the Mojave Desert on his way back to LA to see his friend after spending the day in Vegas, when his car would suddenly break down. A passing highway patrol officer noticed Ryan walking along the side of the road and offered to drive him to the nearby town of Baker to get further assistance. And upon arrival, he then called one of his friends for help and agreed to meet them at the rest stop. But in a strange twist of fate, once the friend arrived to pick him up, Ryan had mysteriously disappeared. A missing person report was filed the very next day, but there would be no real updates in the case until 2 months later, when his decomposing remains were finally discovered in the middle of the desert. Initially, it was assumed that this was just a tragic accident. However, when the coroner's report came back a few weeks later, it was soon revealed that Ryan's body was missing at least 6 of its organs. However,
you see, people, 6 of the man organ and take out, As we proceed, people.
The local police still refused to believe that foul play was involved, leaving his family understandably furious and desperate for justice. Which, once again, is a very common theme shared across all of these stories as families desperately hold on to the idea of closure. But unlike the other cases that I've mentioned so far, these men aren't always lured out to remote towns by people they know. On Thursday, the 9th of May earlier this year, a 35-year-old father named Shun Riley was supposed to be on a remote work trip in the city of Kelso, Washington, when he would mysteriously disappear. A few days after arriving, he would accidentally call his wife Mary in the early hours of the morning, to which he could only hear muffled sounds for 3 minutes before eventually deciding to hang up the phone. However, concerned by the strange phone call, she immediately called him back in the hopes that he would pick up and explain the situation. But to her confusion, after answering the phone, Shun would continue to make muffled sounds before a voice could be heard clearly stating, "Go this way, go this way." Mary then hung up again after failing to get her husband's attention and called the hotel he was staying at to ask if they could conduct a wellness check at 3 a.m. But once again, she was left puzzled when the hotel staff confirmed that his hotel room was unlocked and Shun was nowhere to be seen. So after her confusion quickly escalated to fear, Mary then called the local police to report the incident, and soon after accessing the security footage at the hotel, they discovered that Shun could be seen leaving the hotel alone, looking like he was in an extreme amount of distress. So in response to this troubling news, Mary and the rest of the family instinctively traveled all the way up from Long Beach, California, to look for Shun themselves and to help spread awareness of his case. However, after 1 week of searching, his body was eventually discovered in the Cowieman River near Manasco Drive, which was located just a short distance from the Comfort Inn hotel he was staying at, with many believing it wouldn't be long before the guilty suspect was found. But to everybody's surprise, after 3 months of investigating, the case still remains unsolved, leaving Shun's family heartbroken and confused as they try to understand what could have happened to their loved one and why his killer has still not been found after all this time. which is unfortunately the very same situation being experienced by a grieving father that still continues to hold on to the hope that his son will eventually return home. On Wednesday, the 23rd of June in 2021, a 24-year-old geologist named Daniel Robinson was driving home from work through a desert in Arizona when he mysteriously disappeared. After failing to make it home that day, Daniel was eventually reported missing by his father, David Robinson, after the local police insisted that he wait 12 hours before officially making the claim. The investigation therefore started the next day.
And I don't understand people. It's better you be safe than sorry. So better you just put out the thing until the people them forward instead of wait until it's too late. You know what I say? Them have the Amber Alert and you hear the lady they talk about said them that we need to have an Amber Alert for us where anything happen where we can get the word out faster than wait till 24 hours until things enter and then give that land them just to give the people them opportunity to get away. That's pretty much why them then give them so much time. That's just my opinion, people. Better me say you be sorry than you know. Better you get it out and make the people and come in and say, and now if it's a false alarm or something like that, then you punish the people them. As we proceed, people.
Investigation therefore started the next day. However, they wouldn't find any evidence until almost 1 month later, when Daniel's car was finally discovered on a ranch 3 miles away, crashed and abandoned with the airbags deployed. Surprisingly, however, there was still no sign of Daniel, and after 3 years of searching, the police are still no closer to finding out what really happened to the 24-year-old geologist. Many theories have been discussed, but with this case being so tightly guarded by the Buckeye Police Department, Daniel's father fears we may never get to the bottom of this mystery, which has understandably led many to wonder if something more nefarious could be at play here. But with so many other cases possessing similar details, it's no surprise that connections have been drawn by the public, as demonstrated by this next case. On Friday, the 5th of October in 2018, a 26-year-old TV producer named Terrence Woods was supposed to be filming a documentary out in the town of Grangeville when he would mysteriously vanish. According to witnesses, Terrence had been behaving extremely unusual that day, but nobody could have expected him to suddenly run off in the middle of a shoot as they watched him jump down a 15-foot cliff edge and disappear into the woods. Immediately after these events took place, members of the film crew chased after him, but they were unable to catch up, resulting in the young man ending up alone in the wilderness. But determined to make sure he was okay, the crew then reported him missing to the local police. However, by this time, the sun was beginning to go down, so the officers decided to conduct a search first thing in the morning. K9 units, helicopters, and infrared technology were utilized, and Terrence's family even flew across the country to aid in the search. But despite the huge efforts of everybody involved, the missing young man was never located, and so almost 6 years later, he continues to remain a missing person. But in a similar vein to the family of Daniel Robinson, despite the ever-increasing time lapse of Terrence's disappearance, his family continue to hold out hope that he will return, which is a sentiment that is also shared by the grieving family of this next victim. On Sunday, the 22nd of October, a 46-year-old father of two named Rudy Tessima was supposed to be off on a spiritual retreat in the town of Mercer in Wisconsin when he would mysteriously disappear without a trace. He was reported missing soon after by his friends when they noticed his sudden absence from the group, but by then it was already too late, as it would appear that Rudy was nowhere to be found. Sightings of the 46-year-old would soon come in, with witnesses claiming to have seen a man matching his description walking around in bare feet in the Mercer area. But unfortunately, these leads would inevitably come up empty upon investigation, and to this day, Rudy continues to remain a missing person. However, given the concerning details that surround his case, many are starting to wonder if he could have been a victim of the racial inequality that still plagues the state of Wisconsin, especially given the town's affiliation with the famous racial hate group that I will refuse to name. But one thing that has come out of this
The famous hate group people. Isn't it crazy? The corrupt creatures, right, actually exist for so long. And the government make them people exist. People, even, them did storm the federal building. Them a talk about to pardon the people them, because the people, I'm telling you, so people, like the things them want go on in a society now. As we proceed, people, that's the same thing that happened before, The same thing that's happening now in today's society, the same thing is happening. As we proceed, people.
is the revelation that most modern day sundown towns are not located in the deep south, as you would guess, as nowadays you are much more likely to find areas of racial divide in the Midwest, with Wisconsin and Illinois climbing to the top of the list, a fact which can be perfectly illustrated by this next case. On Tuesday, the 18th of September in 2018, a 40-year-old father named William Young was discovered hanging lifeless from a tree in the small city of Peru, Illinois, with the initial cause of death being ruled as self-inflicted by the local police. However, as the weeks went by, details started to emerge surrounding William's death, including the fact that the police would refuse to let his family conduct a private autopsy of the body, threatening to cremate the remains if they didn't organize a swift burial. But to make matters worse, it was then
But people may keep on telling you, so the police them are the biggest part of the problem. Because the police them can't look. I'm gonna show you now. Police them have all of the tools them for find, for do them due diligence, for solve all of the cases them. But me say if them don't want to do it, it no matter if them are get paid, all of these people are getting paid to do a job. But me say if they don't want to do it, why should they do it? Why would anybody look out for we if they don't want to? Let me tell you some, most of these things they don't want to. Now it's just being blatant how it is. Society is just being opened up for us to understand that nothing changed. The social media age, when people are supposed to be more militant, people are more foolish. And there's a reason for that. Because if they're more serious, they would make changes. As we proceed, people.
cremate the remains if they didn't organize a swift burial. But to make matters worse, it was then leaked to the public that William's car had received damages on the passenger side, like it had been rammed by another vehicle, and his belongings were also scattered all over the place as if there had been some kind of struggle. But despite these incredibly suspicious details, no official investigation would ever take place, with the LaSalle Police Department remaining adamant that no foul play was involved. So, given the long list of questionable activity related to this case, alongside the fact that his body was found less than a mile away from where another body was discovered just a few years later.
Okay, and that's what I'm saying though. Somebody else get boxed up in the same neighborhood, right? And that match I show you, even with the Tupac estate, them have to sue the government, them have to sue FBI, them have to sue all of them people for the right information come out. For them do the investigation. Because all of them people that get paid, all of those people are getting paid. But them still did not do the job. I keep on saying it over and over. Nobody has to do anything, even if them are get paid for do it, unless them want to do it. The same thing with the government. The government don't have to do anything with them no want to do, even if them are get paid millions and millions. and give the people them 300% raise, and the people them still not do nothing because they don't have to. As we proceed, people.
Despite the fact that his body was found less than a mile away from where another body was discovered just a few years later, it's no surprise that many are starting to wonder if these potential lynchings have been hidden from the public by the very same people that are hired to protect us. And just to further drive this point home, I will quickly run through the details of another case from Peru, which I'm sure many of you will be familiar with. On Tuesday, the 24th of August in 2021, a 25-year-old graduate student named Jelani Day was on his way to Illinois State University for an important meeting with his professor. However, after arriving on campus in the early hours of the morning, he would make the extremely out-of-character decision to skip his meeting and instead drive over to a cannabis dispensary, which would be his last official sighting. The young man was quickly reported missing by his mother.
Okay, and this, me no know how this I'm gonna go on such an important interview, and then this man just decides say, yo, I'm gonna go buy some weed, and then he just disappear. This I wanna like, it's just weird. So them actually see me at the weed store buy some weed. So I don't know if him did I go link up with a girl or something like that. As we proceed, people, it's just weird. Say him have such an important interview at the college, and the man just before he reach the college, not like him buy it before he even go up on the trip, but before him reach the college, the man just go somewhere else to buy some weed. Just weird, people. As we proceed.
And was quickly reported missing by his mother after she received a call from the university about his absence. But strangely, the police refused to act, given that Jelani had only been missing for a few hours, so the official report wasn't made until the next day. But unfortunately, this decision would soon reveal itself to be a grave mistake, as Jelani's car was eventually discovered around 60 miles away in the neighboring city of Peru, and after searching the nearby river, his decomposing body was found. An investigation into Jelani's death was immediately conducted. However, despite the incredibly nefarious nature of this case, the police are still yet to apprehend the suspect, believing the most likely cause of death to be self-inflicted drowning. So not only does this case remain unsolved, but the police are refusing to believe that foul play is involved, which is a very unfortunate theme across many.
And I that not tell the people. And that's just not that. I'm telling us that way before. It's the same thing. You can't look to the police then for help. That's why I say we supposed to have some security system for us. Some law, some there's nothing, people. I'm gonna understand all them people never have nothing set up, no protection. That I just one of the things that I'm think about. I was like, we can't get blamed for anything. People can lie upon we all the time. As we proceed.
Are refusing to believe that foul play is involved, which is a very unfortunate theme across many of these cases. On Sunday, the 18th of December in 2022, a 19-year-old man named Caden Black was supposed to be spending the morning at his father's house to help look after the dogs, as he did every Sunday. But strangely, after failing to show up that day, he would mysteriously disappear and hasn't been seen since. After noticing that Caden hadn't arrived, his father, Maurice, then called up their neighbor, Chris Faust, to ask if he had seen his son, as at the time, Caden had been staying with him temporarily. However, Chris would respond by claiming that Caden was likely asleep upstairs, so not wanting to cause a fuss, Maurice simply accepted that his son wasn't coming and continued on with his day as normal. But once Tuesday rolled around, Chris realized that he hadn't physically seen Caden since Saturday afternoon, so he quickly made the decision to call his mother, Cara, to ask if he had perhaps traveled over to her house without telling anyone. But to his surprise, Cara would state that she too hadn't seen Caden and had last spoken to him around 6 days prior. So at this point, with nowhere else to turn, Chris decided to call the local police department to officially report Caden as missing. However, despite the immense efforts of the authorities, almost 2 years later, Caden still remains a missing person to this day, with many people associating his disappearance with the fact that he had recently moved back to the town of Wrightsville, which is home to an incredibly small number of black residents. And this also seems to be the situation with this next victim, after he decided to head out to the town of Taylorsville for work before mysteriously disappearing. On Saturday, the 1st of October, almost 2 years ago, a 25-year-old man from Mississippi named Rasheem Carter would call his mother in a panic, claiming that he was being followed by a group of men in trucks who were shouting racial slurs in his direction. So, fearing for her child's life, she immediately advised him to head over to the nearest police station to report the incident and to ask for a lift home. However, in response to his pleas, the Taylorsville Police Department...
Yeah, I remember this one too, people. The man got a police station for get help, and the policeman them say, yo, we know they on that, you know. You have to go find someone else. Go for get help. The policeman them say, yo, we can't help you, brother. And the man call him brethren for come pick him up. And then brethren go pick him up and them never find him. Remember that one, yeah? For real, remember that one, yeah?
Taylorsville Police Department claimed that they were not a taxi service, and that because his home was out of their jurisdiction, there was nothing they could do. So, with no other options, Rasheem then called a family friend to pick him up from a gas station in Taylorsville, to which she agreed. However, after arriving on the scene, Rasheem was mysteriously nowhere to be found, eventually leading his mother to file a missing persons report.
Man has respect.
But unfortunately, there would be no updates to the case until around a month later, when the skeletal remains of Rasheem Carter were found, with his head separated from his body. Despite the incredibly controversial details, however, to this day, the case remains an open investigation.
The police, they never investigate none of the case, them, you know, even though the people them have so much evidence. That's the thing, you know. It's not like say the evidence them not there, you know, but until they say if they want to, and they don't want to.
With the police strongly believing that nobody else was involved and that his death was nothing more than an accident. So, once again, we see a young black man disappearing in a small remote town before turning up deceased with little to no explanation available. So it's no wonder that many people have started to associate Taylorsville with racism, which is a label that has also been attached to this next town. On Wednesday, the 2nd of November in 2022, a 17-year-old boy named Sion Carroll left his grandmother's house in Cambridge, Virginia in the early hours of the morning to cool off after the pair had got into a small argument. But unfortunately, he was never seen alive again. Sion was reported missing the next day by his mother, Tiffany Baker, after he failed to return home and refused to answer his cell phone. So concerned for his well-being, the whole family headed out to Cambridge to hand out flyers and look for the missing teenager. However, after 8 days of searching, they were mortified to find out that a police officer named Ben Barnes would miraculously stumble upon a gravesite in which he would discover the dismembered remains of Sion Carroll. But this already controversial case would take yet another shocking twist when it was revealed that Sion's cell phone was discovered next to the home of a registered sex offender, leading the public to believe that it...
Yeah, so him phone, young boy, I know, and him phone end up beside one of them pedo people there, right? That's the issue. As we proceed, people. And again, the investigation never gone away. As we proceed.
Long before the case was wrapped up. But to everyone's surprise, this suspect was quickly removed from the registry, with his identity remaining a secret to this day. And to make matters even worse, the police officer responsible for finding Sion's body would coincidentally decide to resign without explanation before disappearing into thin air. So, given the incredibly suspicious nature of this case, it is no surprise that Sion's family have continued to plead with the public for help, as it would certainly seem that something nefarious is going down in Cambridge, Virginia.
Tell people what the thing about it is with all of them crime, I know, right? It's like they're consistently happen to us, right? They're consistently never solve. That's why I say, oh, is it? We are the prey in a society. How is it that society not have no empathy towards us, no outrage? All the girl that did videotape the George Floyd sacrifice. All she did I get threat. I'm not understanding of people. It's like open season for us. I don't know how open season for nobody. That's why I'm say if them separate us from them, us from the evil people them, will we be safer? I'll go with the gun license and all of them things there. So I said this is the perfect time for the diaspora city to come in play, you know. But we have a diaspora city everywhere in the world. I'm telling you, if you duplicate it at one place, then you can duplicate it anywhere. It has to be like-minded people. The whole life based like this, yeah. That's some sad life, you know. We have some sad life, you know, people. We just have pretend say happiness are gone in a hell. But we do live some sad life as we proceed.
Cambridge, Virginia. Now, just before I end the video, I wanted to take a brief moment to decompress and reflect on all the stories that featured on this video, as I can't stress enough just how concerning these patterns really are. I'm sure a few of you will be thinking that these cases are tragic and suspicious, but to align them all with sundown towns specifically might be a stretch. But as I mentioned at the start of this video, there is an underlying theme here which every single story possesses, which is that these men all disappeared from areas they were not native to. Devontae Morgan was visiting Mount Shasta for a family party. Tycharius Ray had moved across the country to Roseburg to be with his girlfriend. Corey Daniely was visiting a friend in Kerman. Ryan Singleton broke down in the remote desert town of Baker. Shun Riley had accepted a job up in Kelso. Daniel Robinson was working as a geologist in Buckeye. Terrence Woods had traveled to Grangeville to film a reality TV show. Rudy Tessima had followed his friends out to Mercer. William Young was traveling through the town of Peru to visit his friend, with Jelani Day also deciding to travel to Peru for the likely purpose of meeting a love interest.
Okay, all of them people that travel by themselves, people. Like, they end up to meet people or something, but all of them are travel by themselves. And because all of them places, all of these places is just, oh, you know, have some protection in them places. Yeah. And maybe most of them people have criminal record. And you know, if you have criminal record, you can't own weapon. That may I try to show you how everything work against you, you know. Every little thing work against you. And that's how society is.
Jelani Day also deciding to travel to Peru for the likely purpose of meeting a love interest. Caden Black had recently moved back to Wrightsville before moving in with another family. Rasheem Carter was only out in Taylorsville for work purposes, and Sion Carroll had recently moved out to Cambridge to stay out of trouble. So no matter how you choose to look at this, there is surely something concerning about the fact that so many young black men have disappeared under the same circumstances in very recent years. And to connect these cases to sundown towns specifically, keep in mind that every single place that these men disappeared from had a significant lack of diversity, with black residents being the smallest demographic across every single town. Now, I'm not saying that statistics alone prove that an area is racist, but given that so many of these cases are connected to areas that are home to predominant.
Okay, and that's why I'm going to show you the connection, people. There's always a connection, you know. I'm telling you, the green book that was invented by Victor Hugo Green. What map out all of the city them, the CF city them. Maybe they need to do that at Jamaica. We need to have a map for the Jamaican them, because even to them here, the Prime Minister of Jamaica said, oh, Jamaica is so much safer to 0.01% tourists. Them want that to be 0.00000000 right across the board. Meanwhile, say, yo, it now change, people. It will never change, because it's been like this way forever. And the only way it's gonna change are when the people them realize that need for change. Because the people them are supposed to change it, they're not interested in changing it. I can't believe the man I talk about or tourists, everything is tourists, and the people them not have no road, the people them not have no light, the people them not have no job, the people them not have nothing. That's why I say, if the people them look on UIC, and she say UIC is a better model, where them not roll with UIC? That's why I say, me uncle listen to them and time want some joke. Because pretty much it's always comedy hour with the people, yeah. It's not about betterment or nothing. It's all about enrichment. As we proceed, people.
Given that so many of these cases are connected to areas that are home to predominantly white residents, I think it would be dangerous to overlook this as a possibility. So if there's one message to take from this video, it would be to avoid these towns if you can, as regardless of how you feel towards the idea of sundown towns, the fact that these incredibly suspicious cases remain unsolved after so many years should be reason enough to stay clear of them.
Okay, and that's my try show you, even in today's society, people, them still have them place here. They still have these places. I'm telling you, the Black Panther don't exist anymore. Even though the Black Panther them did a look out for the neighborhood them. So I'm gonna look on them things at people. Are we aware of anything? Do we care about anything? It's just crazy, people. So it's enough of the things I'm going through in my life. It makes sense. So this is how it is for real. As we proceed, people.
Reason enough to stay clear of them. Anyway, I think I'll leave this video here, but please.
So you can go and like the video and subscribe, people, because there's some of them channel there them put in the work. and actually do the research and everything to get the information. It's not easy. You hear enough of them story, you know, in a real time, and it's not like they were sensational stories. It's just the facts that people just talk about them, and then it just died down because there's no investigation. There's nobody investigated these. As much I show you, what's the sense when people have so much millions of dollars? It just shows that them can't escape by buying them way out of it, but it don't mean to them escape, because if them never have the money, they would have been in the same position as us. As we proceed, people, again, thank the people them for stopping by. Thanks the new subscribers. People, one day at a time, you know. We just growing our channel and educating ourselves. School is always open, right? But we have to have students in a class, or student with class in a school. Manners, enough. Manners, respect, enough. People, happy birthday month to all of the Mr. Yellows and the Miss Yellows. I hope on the month is treating the way it's supposed to treat, you know. And honor treat it the way honor to treat it. Because it's always a two-way street. It shouldn't be this way, people. Right through history, we are being hunted for no reason. How comes them people are not get away with them things here for so long? Nobody not put a stop to it. That's why I say past, present, and future will continue being the same if we not change it. I'm out.